Hello, this is Luna Werner with Let's Talk Ladies with Luna.com. And I'm compelled just to get on and give a little testimony. I recently interviewed Lyric Gillette, the CEO and founder of Faces of Choice. And it really resonated something in my spirit to want to get on and give my full testimony of when, where, and why I had my abortion. I'm probably one of the few women who were married, and the child that I aborted was that of my husband, he is now deceased. During the time that I got pregnant, this was my second pregnancy, I was in a mindset where I wanted a professional career. I was not wanting to be bogged down with an additional child. The reason being, my deceased ex husband and I were not getting along. We argued every day. We argued every day pretty much throughout the whole marriage. But this was probably about the 11th year in our marriage. No, yes, 11th year, because no, it wasn't the 11th year. It was about the eighth year in our marriage. Yes, the eighth year in our marriage. And we were just bickering every day over silly little things that didn't even matter. And every time I got pregnant, it was intentional. I mean, there was never a pregnancy that was not intentional because my deceased ex husband controlled that area of our intimacy. So when he got me pregnant, he knew exactly what he was doing. I believe he thought it was going to secure me never leaving him, which in my mind, I was never going to do that anyway. So I thought, but it was much deeper than that. It was rooted much deeper in that. So when I finally got pregnant with that second child, I was having bad nightmares. I was having dreams that something was physically wrong with the baby, that it may have been uh, already diseased with different issues and mental illness, which was prevalent on my deceased ex-husband's side of the family. Now, I might have had some on my side of the family too, but it was not noticeable or visible where one could identify it. But on his side of the family, it was prevalent. And you could just look at the individual and tell that, there were some issues, mental issues, as well as physical disformities. So that was something that weighed heavily on me during that pregnancy. And I did not want that child. I was a Christian. I was, reading my Bible and going to church, doing all the things that a so-called good Christian is supposed to do. But I knew I did not want that child. For whatever reasons, I did not want to birth that second child by him. So I did what many women have done. Now, in my case, I ended up getting my abortion by my gynecologist, who happened to have been a Jewish doctor. He had just started his abortion clinic. It had not been functioning and established even 3 months. And when I went to him to confirm that I was pregnant, I was 8 weeks pregnant. I expressed to him I did not want the child. And he quickly told me about his clinic. He gave me the address. We set up a time for me to go. I had not even spoken to my husband. I had no intentions of listening to what my husband had to say. He already knew I was pregnant because, every time I got pregnant, it was intentional. There were no so called accidents, not with him. So once I found out that there was a clinic that I could go to with my gynecologist, whom I trusted, I talked to my husband about it, and he said absolutely not. He would not give me the money, which I look back, it was now is a very small amount, but back then it wasn't such a small amount. But he absolutely refused to give me the funds to have an abortion, and rightfully so. I can see his viewpoint and how he thought, and where he stood. Now I can understand. Then I didn't, but now I can. So I did what any other uh, hard-headed, strong, independent so-called woman would do. I went to my mother. And my mother was one of those types of women who believe that a woman's body is her body. No man should have the right to supersede what she wants to do, which at the time it sound good, and that's what I wanted to hear. But that absolutely was not the right direction to take. Uh, but I did. I did. And so not only did she give me the money for the abortion, but she took me to the facility for the abortion. That was one of the most horrible experiences that I have ever encountered. When I went to the facility, um, they showed you this film. Well, they showed me this film, I should say, of the procedure of how they were going to do the abortion. Now, from the way that they showed the film, it just looked like, oh, they were just going to take out this small little fetus and in one piece, remove all the residue, make sure that everything is cleaned out. And it was going to be just that simple. Well, it wasn't just that simple. Once they did the procedure, my blood pressure dropped down to 62, 62. And they were really frantic. They thought that they were losing me. And quite frankly, I thought I was about to die myself. I thought, well, this is my punishment for doing something that God did not condone. So they told my mom that I needed to get home. They kept me there for about 2 hours to see if that blood pressure would rise up. It rose up slightly, but not enough for where they were satisfied, and felt comfortable with me being okay. But after 2 hours, 2 hours had lapsed. They told my mom I needed to get home. I needed to just rest and be still, no lifting, no doing anything, just lay in the bed and rest for a few days. So when she took me home, I remember I couldn't even make it to the bedroom. I remember falling out on my couch, and she put a blanket over me, and then she left and went home. She didn't live too far from me if I would have needed her, but she didn't live very far at all from my home. But she went home, and then by the time that my husband and daughter came home, I'll never forget, I was still laying on the couch with the blanket wrapped over me. And my daughter, who is now 50 years old, came over. She was 4 years old. She came over and she gave me the biggest hug and kiss on the forehead. And she wanted to know what was going on and how I was feeling and why was I sick, and just had a million questions, as most young children do have. I don't recall even answering any of them, just telling her, Mommy is not doing very well right now, but I just need to get my rest. And that's what I did. Well, when my husband came in, he was not happy. He was not happy at all. And I'm telling you, for years and years and years and years and years, even though I know I was forgiven by God when I repented, He washed me clean and redeemed me from that horrible experience that I had. My husband, I don't think he fully forgave me, because many times when we'd have arguments and we would start talking about different things, he would bring up the fact, well, You had your child, speaking of my daughter, and you killed my child, speaking of the second uh, baby that I uh, aborted. Well, the second child I was carrying and the first baby and last that I aborted. So he never let me forget about it. Although I know that I was forgiven, although I know that there's no condemnation in Christ Jesus, but he never would let it go. Well, God was merciful enough to bless us with another child, and this child was a 10-pound, big, healthy boy, and he's a big, healthy man right now. So, God is a forgiving God. And I say all these things just to let you know that you never know who's been through what. You never know if someone has walked in your shoes and you not even knowing that they had the shoes on their feet. But I just felt compelled to just give a little background about that because in the interview with Lyric Gillette from Faces of Choice, I did briefly hit on that where I myself could relate with the women who were having abortions, but their babies survived. Mine did not, but it was all in God's plan. So I thank God for that. But stay tuned for that interview. Stay tuned for the worldwide commercial that's going to be shown for her ministry, Faces of Choice. And then also at the end of the interview, there is an actual testimony of one of the survivors. Yes, one of the survivors from an attempted abortion. So stay tuned for that. And as always, with Let's Talk Ladies with Luna.com, we're not about quantity, we're all about quality. And we're spreading hope and encouragement, not just on social media, but throughout the world. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon.